I got one question involving the Donald Trump assassination attempt. How did the gunman get through the metal detectors with the gun and get to the highest point to be able to get any kind of shots off? This was a security failure at the highest level. Oh yeah, let's get into some of this straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy, DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of the straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the young man, Thomas Crooks, tried to assassinate Donald Trump, killing one person, injuring another, and a bullet grazing Donald Trump in his ear. We hear the mainstream media right now trying to say this should be a moment that we should all come together, as if we as the people were promoting us all to be a part, or some kind of divisive movement amongst the people. When in fact, the very person that the assassination attempt was made upon, Donald Trump, has been the person trying to divide America in one slogan or another, right? Has incited violence against his own political opponents, downplayed violence against family members of his political co-workers, if you will, and Nancy Pelosi's husband. And when Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, was almost, they were trying to kidnap her, assassinate her, kidnap her, some right-wing extremists were trying to do that to her, right? Donald Trump and his supporters were basically, he downplayed it and was like, yo, lock her up, lock them all up. So now that the violence, I want y'all to understand this, man. Now that the violence that Donald Trump has encouraged against others has reached him now. And this is what I made a video in talking about, how violence only begets more violence, right? The attempted murder of Donald Trump and the killing of a bystander is horrifying and outrageous. Period. Right? And as we know more stuff that has come out about the shooter, it's even more crazy to find out that this young man who was 20 years old, right, Thomas Crooks, was a registered Republican. And so I asked the question, how was it that this young man was able to get on the roof with an AR-15 rifle and get off as many shots as he did, killing one person, made the guy, I think he was a doctor or something like that, may he and his family, you know, like, may he rest in peace, and wish nothing but prayers to his family, because he didn't deserve that, period. Let's be clear. And the other person that was shot, and even Donald Trump, I would say, right? But once again, when you go back to January 6th, right, in DC, when Donald Trump encouraged and incited his followers to go back down to the Capitol and basically bust inside the Capitol and take their country back. which in turn he is now waiting to go to trial on, and inciting violence, in which people were killed and lost their lives. See, I'm not with the conspiracy theorist thing. I'm not, all of this was a look, when you deal with this type of violence and this type of the inciting of violence from that perspective, it seems like people like Donald Trump and the people that are supporting him, as long as the violence is being inflicted on other people, it's okay. Now that Donald Trump threw a young man, Thomas Crooks, who tried to assassinate Donald Trump, a young man who's Caucasian. And I look at this like that from the perspective, Donald Trump, you know how they usually have the bulletproof glass up? Barack had it all the time, if you will. Barack Obama usually had that all the time when he was on the road. I think sometimes he didn't, but, most of the time he did. That bulletproof glass that they speak in front of. And so Donald Trump, he's in rural Pennsylvania, where most of his constituents or people that support him are white. In some way, somehow, Donald Trump felt safe enough that he didn't have any kind of bulletproof apparatus or anything in front of him, right? The person who shot him wasn't black. They weren't Asian. They weren't Latino. They weren't any of the other people that most of I would say Republicans and people who follow behind Donald Trump try to blame or say that they are the problem, if you will, when spewing out the rhetoric that divides us as a country. Because America in itself is a melting pot, but you have certain parts of America in rural Pennsylvania, places like that are mostly Caucasian, right? So Donald Trump felt safe, so safe that he didn't feel like he needed any kind of bulletproof barrier to protect him. Once again, cockiness, arrogance. I got this. But once again, now they're trying to find out the motive behind why the young man, Thomas Crooks, basically would do something like that. They've been saying that the young man was bullied, right? Donald Trump in himself is a bully, right? That's what he does in his trial, where he got convicted of 34 counts of felony. He was on there and he basically was talking about the judge's daughter. He tried to go after the jury, but they sanctioned him for that. You understand what I'm saying? This is what he's been doing. So once again, in talking about the judge's daughter during that trial, the judge himself and their family was scared that people might want to come and harm them from that perspective, if you can understand what I'm saying. So now that the violence, I'm going to say it again, now the violence that Trump has encouraged against others has reached him as well. I'm not really surprised. I'm just not. I'm like, man, dude, remember he said that he could walk down Fifth Avenue and he could shoot somebody in the middle of the what's the name and get away with it. Remember, he said that. So now all of a sudden, the guy who was saying all of these things, now the media is now trying to promote this kumbaya moment, as if the American people weren't trying to get along before that. Barack Obama, when he was in office, before Trump came in, basically was trying to promote and bring America together. So now, some way, somehow, a lot of these figures that hold power think that they are beyond karma, and they think that because they talk a certain way to a certain group of people, that every brother of their color is their brother. And we've seen just recently that that's not so, because that was a 20-year-old young white man who was a registered Republican that tried to take Donald Trump's life. You understand what I'm saying? So now, when we talk about that, we talk about the situation with Nancy Pelosi's husband. That situation in itself, he got beat pretty bad. Somebody came to their house and beat Nancy Pelosi's husband pretty bad. damn near to almost to death, right? But somehow he survived. When the situation came across Donald Trump, him and his sons basically made up some kind of false, crazy situation, said that it had something to do with some kind of sexual misadventure or some kind of, once again, downplaying that violence and not being human enough to say, hey, you know what? There's no place for that in politics, if you will, or dealing with people overall, right? See, this is what they're saying now, that there's no place for this in politics. You know what I mean? You know, there's no place for this in politics. Like I said, the situation in regarding to Donald Trump, it was despicable, right? And because it caused the death of somebody who was innocent, that didn't deserve it, right? Now they're trying to, create this situation involving Donald Trump, trying to post him up or basically as a martyr now, and to trying to galvanize people. And his immediate reaction after the situation, instead of trying to really, truly, honestly bring people together, was, we gonna fight. They not gonna scare me. We don't give in to fear, right? These are some of the things that he was saying. Now, who's they? Right? Who's they? It was a 20-year-old young man that did this, who was a Republican. Right? So who's they? Once again, trying to galvanize the troops at any cost to try to get people to believe that there's someone after him other than the actions and the things that he's festered up in the environment that he created. Right? It was lock Hillary up. It was lock Gretchen Whitmer up. It was lock them all up, right? But he's the only one that has been convicted of fraud, right? And convicted of basically violating campaign finance laws involving the Stormy Daniels situation. Those situations weren't manufactured charges. You understand what I'm saying? And so, like I said, I don't condone the violence on no front. But once again, one cannot come out and promote a whole bunch of violence and downplay violence when it happens to other people, right? Right? The situation when he was like, well, there's good people and bad people on both sides. Like, it's wrong to harm somebody for no reason. It was wrong for the young man to shoot Donald Trump, period. That wasn't right. Nobody, you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I don't have a personal vendetta or dislike for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a father. He got kids. He got grandkids, right? And you would never want somebody to be hurt or anything like that. But once again, Donald Trump as himself can't go out here and be wishing that upon people and think that that will not visit him at his front door or place of business, worship, or otherwise. You just can't. And like I said, I just gave you a few examples on how that works and how that's been, you know what I mean? How they basically pictured that, rolled with that, right? It's kind of sad, man. Right? And the whole Republican versus Democrat, the left wing, right wing, man, they selling a whole bunch of shit to people. And then when something really, truly bad happens, now you see that it really isn't about what they say it's about, because now they come together and want to come together for this kumbaya moment. So what is it really all about? What is it really all about? Ideologies? Right? Because as we can see right now, the economy is booming. We got jobs, everything is basically, you know what I mean? Is kind of doing well. We got a little bit of inflation, but that's coming down as well. And so now, here comes this thing. Well, people, and Donald Trump keeps saying, people are coming in, they're killing Americans, they're doing this. And a lot of the stuff he's saying is not even backed up by facts. The question that I have to ask is this. When joining the military, I've had a few people in my family serve in the military. When joining the military, do you know that if you have a felony on your record, you can't join the military, right? But somehow, some way, the person who is a convicted fraud, right, has 34 felonies, is able to run for the highest office in the land and tell the people or command the people who joined the military who couldn't have felonies, he's going to be the guy to be able to tell them what to do and be their commander in chief, and him having 34 felonies. They got to make this make sense, man. They got to make it make sense. And like I said, a lot of the things that Donald Trump does, he doesn't even have to do. Just run on what you plan on doing for the people and making America a better place after you leave office, right? You know, making America great again, these racial undertones of how you plan on, it's not going to work. So, and as we've seen just the other day, when the situation happened with the young man, Thomas Crooks, this is a guy who you would think that was supposed to be supporting Trump. He was an NRA member, right? Right? He was a Republican, right? But once again, you cannot, and this, like I said, you know, you cannot, not, you know, when the shooting happened, at Perry High School, right? When the mass shooting happened at Perry High School, you know what Donald Trump said? We have to get over it. That was a direct quote from Donald Trump in regarding the shooting, the mass shooting at Perry High School. We have to get over it, right? You know, once again, I don't condone violence at all. It's not the answer. It never has been the answer. But it seems like when the violence is being inflicted by the people who support Donald Trump onto others, it's not the same as when the violence comes back home, that one is basically co-signing and downplaying when it happens to other people. You can't have it that way. See, God is bigger than all of this. Yeah, God is bigger than his money. God is bigger than, you know, you might win for a few strokes and have a few people, you know, doing things that they ain't supposed to be doing. But in the end, when the karma comes, it comes thick. It comes thick. And like I said, once again, I do not support what happened to Donald Trump. Like I say, he's a father, grandfather. You know, he got kids. But Donald Trump has to do better in the message that he's trying to push out there, knowing his situation. Like I said, he was going after the judge's daughter, knowing what some of the people who support him would try to do. You know, like I said, once again, you know, this is a crooked this is a rig that, this is all of this. Well, if it's all of that, then why is he running for president again? Right? And so once again, when we deal with these facts, my question is overall, how did this guy get past security with an AR-15 rifle to get to one of the highest points in that area at a high elevation to be able to get off shots at the former president of the United States? There was a security failure. Period. So like I said, you know, as Americans, hopefully, we have to do better. You know, people keep playing these games about, you know, the Democrats and the this, the that, the other. Look, man, we all human. You know, that's no different than trying to, you know, bring people down to the lower level of thinking, and it's the same thing, right? Right? So, you know, when you talk about it, this young man was a registered Republican. How do they explain that? You know, then you're going to have people get on TV and be allowed to spew the same old hate. Oh, it was the Democrats and this, that, and the other were in charge. Like what? When the facts are the facts. But guess what? The reality is a little bit too hard to swallow. The reality of it is a little too hard to swallow, if you will. And so when we sit back and and think about it, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like I said, once again, Joe Biden just came out and offered his support for Donald Trump when Donald Trump basically wanted to have incited a terrorist coup against Joe Biden, right? And put up a picture of him. Remember, he put up a picture of Joe Biden kidnapped and hogtied. Isn't that throwing out the same that? Yeah. So how could you not expect something to come back to you? And it didn't come from Joe Biden. It didn't come from some big ass conspiracy that people trying to put on it. This guy was 20 years old. They killed him. It's right there in front of you. How did he get on top of the building? He climbed on that motherfucker. There was not no helicopter, none of that, because CNN keeps asking that question. How did he get on top of the? He climbed up there. That's how he got up there. You know what I mean? And his complexion was his protection. That's how. Right. He wasn't seen as a threat. Why not? Come on, y'all. So we keep playing this game, and these games, should I say, right? But I'm trying to get you to think about what it is, be it you Republican, be it you white, you black, whatever. We all here together, period, at the end of the day. When we got locked down on COVID, everybody got locked down together. It was not one color that was allowed to stay out, one race, one ethnic group. Yeah, people of all colors were dying from COVID. You would have thought that kind of put some sense into our head, but once, everything gets back to normal, people just go right back to their old ignorant ways again. They go back to their corners, to their clans, to their cliques, right? But hey, like you say, at the end of the day, we see now, right? We see now what it is. We see what it is. And like I said, hopefully this becomes a learning lesson to everybody, but I don't think so. Because now they're talking about, make this a unifying moment. So what were they doing before then? Ask yourself that question. So if we have to make this a unifying moment now, then before this situation happened with Donald Trump and the attempted assassination, what were we doing then? They were playing divide and conquer, and they know it. Because now we have to have a unifying moment. You see? And so, I really don't know what to say, man. I really don't know what to say other than that. The hypocrisy that underlies all of this, as you could see, nobody's safe from any kind of, if you're putting out a bunch of hate, like I said, you ain't spreading love, man, it don't really matter. And like I said, as we see what has happened to Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy Jr., Robert Kennedy, should I say, it's crazy. And even so much so, so the people that Trump encouraged and incited to go down there and do what they did on January 6th, right? He's basically said that he's going to, if he wins presidency, he's going to pardon them all. Right? Right? So, so what does that say? Right? That say he celebrated the violence that they and everything that they did, the insurrectionists, all of that they've been convicted of in the court of law. He said, I'm going to pardon them all because they on my team. Right? The violence, all of that. The breaking the glass, the going and having all of the senators and everybody hide down in the basement or in the little room that they was in. Everybody was running scared. Donald Trump said all of the people that got arrested and got convicted of that, right? He's going to pardon them all. So, here we are, man. You know, don't act surprised. Don't act surprised. And like I said, you're going to still have people come out and talk crazy. Oh, it was the Democrats. They're responsible for this. When in fact, the young man was a registered Republican, an NRA member, an AR-15. I think the gun was registered to his father, if you will. And yeah, he tried to assassinate the former president, Donald Trump. Yeah, that the leader and the guy who basically is the head of the Republican Party right now. Yeah. So let that sink in. Let that sink in. You know, but you're going to have people, like I said, once again, come out with this narrative like, oh, it was okay. Whatever you want to believe. But the reality is what we just saw on television the other day. And they still can't find the motive because sometimes I guess people don't need one. All they need is something to trigger them. Like the guy was bullied all his life and he see Donald Trump as a bully. Right? Yeah. Sometimes that's all, you know, a person really needs. Unfortunately. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.